Yes. Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us here with the Rotary Club of Kerrville today. At this time, I would invite everybody to please silence your cell phones and at the same time check into Facebook and let the world know where we're at. Jackie Davis is going to lead us in our prayer and pledge today. And hopefully she's online with us. Sure, Christy, come on up. POD, as you always say. Or PODG, pray on District Governor.
Let's bow our heads. Lord, thank you so much for the rain. Thank you for the gift that we have every time we come together to talk about the good works that we can do. I give blessings and thanks for our military, for our first responders, for those who put themselves in harm's way to protect us. Bless the food that's been prepared. Bless us to thy service. Amen.
Pledge.
Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, I'm not singing.
Jorge.
All right. And the play ball is apropos. I was hoping that the Astros would win last night, and so this was going to be our cheer of mine. So since they lost, your trivia for today is that Cracker Jack was invented in 1893 for the Chicago World's Fair, but it didn't really gain prominence until 1908 when this song was written. And the guy put Cracker Jacks into it, and man, the stock took off, and it was a hot seller. So anyhow, that's, if some of you may not know what Cracker Jacks is, but they still make them today. So anyhow, so there we go. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I never come back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Thank you, George. This time I'd like to ask Wayne Euchre to please come up and introduce our guest speaker today.
Bringing to y'all today a dear friend of mine that I met probably 5, 6 years ago. I was doing a mastermind call, and it just so happened that I was the first one on, and he came on as the fill-in moderator for our group that we were doing, and we started a friendship from that day because he knew exactly where Kerrville was. And the reason that he knew where Kerrville is, the only detriment that I have with the guy, he went to school at the University of Texas. But the thing that I can say that he did do, though, for 2 years while he was there, he was the drum major, and he got that position not being a member of the band. He made an application into it and then went through the filters and made it all the way up to the interviews. And he was asked, why do you want to do this? You're not in the band. And he says, well, if you want somebody who's in the band, yeah, I'm not your guy. But if you want somebody who can provide leadership and will know all 500 members' first names in the first 2 weeks, I'm your guy. So for 2 years, he led the UT band, which I consider a major accomplishment in that. But Alex graduated from UT, spent some time working at a couple of churches, then hired on with Dave Ramsey in the entree leadership side of Dave's business. And then last year, right before the pandemic started, he decided to step out of that role with entree leadership and start his own company, Path for Growth. And he provides business coaching and guidance and personal and growth coaching as well. So if y'all would help me welcome Alex Judd, please.
Thank you, Wayne. And thank you all. I'm so excited to be here. The thing that Wayne didn't say about that mastermind call that I feel like warrants mentioning is, I'll never forget, we were on a Zoom call at this time. And lots of us have become familiar with Zoom nowadays. And that one of the things that I learned early on in using Zoom was that people have kind of what I call a resting Zoom face, right? And so you may be the person talking on Zoom, and if they're not talking, they look at you and they've just got this face that you're like, that person hates me right now. Like, I'm convinced. And I'll never forget, because Wayne can be like, just with the deep voice and the mustache, and just, he's from Texas. And you're like, Wayne can be kind of an intimidating guy, right? And so I'm sitting there on Zoom and we're talking about mission statements and core values and having a vision for your business. And by the time the call started, there were probably about 9 or 10 other leaders on the call. And I'll never forget, just about everyone had spoken as we kind of went through the progress of the call, except for Wayne. And he was just sitting there watching and staring daggers at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, he hates me. What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with this? And then I'll never forget, we were talking about mission statements and he interjected. He cut me off at one point and he said, Alex. And I said, yes. I was like, oh gosh, he spoke. Here we go. And I'm like, what is he going to say? And he said, when I started my business, we had one mission statement and one core value. And I said, okay. And I said, what were they? And he said, 3 words. And now the anticipation is building and you can see everyone leading in. And I said, okay, 3 words. What were they? And he said, feed my family. I love that. And for me, that is where my friendship with Wayne started, because he became a leader that I just deeply respected and admired. And as I came to know more of his story and the story of his business and his family and his team, it just became such an inspiration to me that you can, I mean, we live in a country where you can start something from nothing and you can build it into something that it can serve other people, serve your community, and reinvest back into the area that you love in a powerful way. So Wayne, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. And then I would also say, just for someone, honestly, from my generation, I just want to iterate how much I admire what this is that we're doing right now. I heard a speaker once talk about this, and this is what I thought of as I walked in here today. There was a French aristocrat and politician of all things. He's a politician, he's an aristocrat, and he's French. That's 3 strikes right there, right? But he visited the United States in 1831. My French is not good at all because I'm from Texas, so I'm going to butcher this, but it was Alexis de Tocqueville was his name. And he came and visited, and he wrote what he called essentially observations on America. And just came and he was trying to figure out what is going on with this place. Like, how is it that this is actually working was the question he was asking. And he wrote a bunch of different observations, and they're actually really fascinating. If you just Google Observations on America by Alexis de Tocqueville, you can find him. But one of the most fascinating things is he says that the power of America does not lie in its government or political institutions. The power of America lies in its associations. And he said it was unlike anything. He said it was just so bizarre because it was unlike anything that he had seen in France or in his travels throughout Europe. He said these people just get together on their own free will and just talk about how they can do good things together. And he just thought it was the most bizarre thing. And what he was referring to at the time was the Boy Scouts of America and the Girl Scouts of America and the churches that were popping up all over the United States. And I mean, all these different organizations, the Rotarians were obviously a later iteration of this, but the Freemasons at that time were thriving and the Lions Club is thriving. And he said, associations are the core and the power of what makes America great. And I just think in a time whenever there's so much division, I admire anyone that is committing to association. Yes? And therefore, I just want to express how much I admire what y'all do in this room, because I think it's so important for what leaders do all over the place. Because I truly believe that if someone depends on you, then you are a leader. And that means everyone in here has leadership responsibility. All of us do. The question is not, are we leading? The question is, how are we leading? Are we leading people up or are we leading people down? And today we get to kind of sit together and talk about how do we lead people up. Now, I'll tell you, whenever I get to come to something like this, I don't view my role as presenting anything revolutionary. I don't think I'm going to say anything that y'all don't already know. What I think hopefully I can do is provide reminders for myself, reminders for all of us on what matters and how we can not apply it for the first time necessarily, but apply ourselves to it in a way that may be new, may be fresh, and maybe bring an increased sense of energy to what we get to do every single day. And I was thinking about what to talk about today, and I was thinking about what would be a worthwhile use of our time in the short time that we have together today. And I thought back to one of the members of our coaching program. We meet online with business leaders and we say our ideal client is impact-driven leaders. And what we say we do as a business at Path for Growth is our team helps impact-driven leaders practice healthy growth. And so these are typically business owners or decision-making individuals within organizations that they say, yes, businesses exist to make profit, but more than that, business is a vehicle by which an impact can be made on your community. And the people that we love to work with are the people that focus on that. And one of the things that we noticed with that is a lot of these people that are impact-driven leaders, they have similar aspirations, similar dreams, similar visions, and they get excited about the same things, but in the same way that they have the same vulnerabilities and the same temptations and the same things that they struggle with. And what I've noticed is that so often I can relate to so many of those things. And one of those kind of specific individuals that we get to work with was a guy that I met him several years ago, but we started working together on his business just about a year and a half ago. And I'll never forget, he showed up to his first call. It was on Zoom, and the guy just looked defeated. And the pandemic had affected his business extremely adversely. He was operating his business out of California, which was a very hard place to operate a business a year and a half ago. And I mean, honestly, it still is today. That's why all of them are moving here. And he was just in a really tough spot, but it wasn't only his business that was putting him in a tough spot. He was really struggling to manage his time well. He kind of confided in me that at the time his marriage was struggling. His health was not where he wanted it to be. And the guy was just a picture of, honestly, the word that I would give you was defeat. And he kind of came just saying, I need help. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, man, I don't know necessarily that I know what to do, but I'd love to walk with you in this. And what's crazy is we never applied ourselves to extravagant actions, right? Because I'm just a big believer that growth is not the result of extravagancy. Growth is the result of consistency, right? And so we never said, okay, we're going to go do this one big thing, and that big thing is going to fix everything. We said, what are the small steps that we can take in your personal life, in your health, in your business, in your finances, just to start putting things back into order? And so often, I think that's what great leaders do. They take the things that are chaos and they bring them into order. And so he started taking steps, and it was crazy because I got to meet with him every single month. And although we were creating a path, he was taking the actions, and he started taking steps, and he started going to the gym and working out, and he started doing small things like making his bed in the morning, and he started drinking water, and he started hiring team members and actually scheduling one-on-one meetings with them. And he started holding staff meetings with his full team. He started creating a strategic plan for his business. And it was 2 months ago that I got a call. We've been meeting every month for a year now. It was 2 2 months ago that we got on a call, and he showed up on the call with this just grin on his face. And I said, man, what's the grin for? Like, just the smile was all the way across his face. I said, what's the smile for? And he said, I'm just so grateful. And I said, why? And he said, man, he said, not everything is perfect. There's still stuff that's really, really challenging and really, really hard. But he said, with regard to the business, we have the right people on the bus now, and they have core values that they're rallied around, and they're excited to come to work during the day. And he said, not only that, because I have people on my team that are excited to come to work during the day, I'm excited to come to work during the day. And he said, I've started doing a weekly date night with my wife. And he said, we just have dinner. And he said, sometimes we talk about nothing. Sometimes we talk about everything. And he said, it's changed the stage and status and health and vitality of our relationship. I started going to the gym multiple times a week. And he said, I just feel so good whenever I work up a sweat. And he just started listing all these ways. And I looked at that and I was like, that is just radical transformation. And he did all of this work, but I started to say, what happened there? Because truly, I mean, our vision for our business right now is we're trying to operationalize the practice of healthy growth. So we want to make whatever happened with him like hum for everyone else, like a Chick-fil-A drive-through, right? Like we just want it to move, right? And so we said, if we can bring the same level of system and process and format and methodology, of course, the person still has to do the work. But so a lot of what our team is doing right now is we're asking the question, how did that happen? His life went from being in one place and it radically transformed to being something incredibly, outrageously different over the course of 12 months. How does that happen? And it was in that context of asking that question that I coincided with a piece of content that has honestly just given me so much clarity, and it's been so helpful for me, but then it's been so helpful for the leaders that I get to work with every single day. And it's something that we talk with our team about. And I thought I wanted to share it with you because, number one, I think what you can do with this content is you can evaluate yourself and your own leadership growth. But more than that, we said that everyone in here is a leader. That means that everyone in here has someone that depends on them. And so what we're going to talk about is the 6 fundamental human needs. The 6 core human needs that all of us, regardless of stage, size of business, regardless of stage of life, regardless of gender, regardless of nationality, it's something that transcends all of those categories and all of those circumstances, that these are things that we fundamentally need. And if we can not only make sure that we meet these needs ourselves, but then help others around us meet these needs, well, then we are leading effectively. And so the first fundamental human need that we're going to walk through is a pretty fascinating one. The first one is certainty. So the first fundamental human need, and there's a lot of psychology that supports this, it's the idea of certainty. It's what certainty looks like is habit, routine, and rhythm. Now, thankfully, we have a certain amount of certainty woven into our day. The sun rose this morning, although it was a little bit covered by clouds, the sun still rose, right? And the sun, I'm hoping, will set this evening. And after it sets this evening, it will rise tomorrow morning if God wills it, right? And so there's a level of certainty and rhythm and routine in the seasons. There's a level of certainty and rhythm and routine in that we typically eat 3 meals, right? Unless we're one of those crazy people that only does 1 or 2. I call those people communists, right? But that's what we're talking about here, right? A level of certainty through which we structure our day. And what is proven to be true is that if you are a leader, you can do a great thing in your organization or in your family or in your community by introducing certainty, introducing order, introducing rhythm, and introducing routine. Because human beings desire certainty. They crave a certain level of rhythm and cadence and consistency. And certainly for all of us, one of the things that we need is consistency. One of the things that we need is certainty. But then what I think is so fascinating about this content is just the idea that the first human need is certainty. And then I think it's the humor and genius of God. The second thing that we need is uncertainty, right? And so this is one of the things that the person that I was working with on this call did. He said, okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to establish a weekly date night. I'm going to start working out 3 times a week. I'm going to start eating healthy, and I'm going to start making my bed and waking up at the right time, right? So all of those things were examples of certainty. He said, I'm going to do some specific things in a specific way. And he said, I'm going to add structure and routine. But then he said, okay, now I've got all this certainty. Now I need some uncertainty, right? And what uncertainty is a sense of just the unexpected, spontaneity, adventure. It's something that we all deeply desire and deeply need. And so he said, I need to make sure I schedule just a quarterly getaway with my wife. And he said, also, I need to go fishing every once in a while, right? Because what is fishing but uncertain, right? There would be times where I say, like, man, how was it this weekend? And he said, well, there's a reason why it's called fishing and not catching, right? and it's because it's uncertain, right? And he loved the uncertainty of, like, some days I go out and I have a great day. Some days I go out and it's not so great a day. And that's right, that represents adventure. But the truth and the principle that's worthwhile for all of us to understand here, and it's worthwhile for us especially to teach, is that if we don't meet this need in legitimate ways, we will meet it in illegitimate ones, right? And so this is why sometimes, I mean, we see stories in the news all the time of leaders making horrible decisions that ruins their life and ruins their business and ruins their future and crushes their family. And so often they're doing it because their life is so certain they have to do something that represents adventure. And instead of going fishing, or instead of going skiing, or instead of going on a hike, they go out and they do something really dumb that they're going to regret. And so what would it look like for us as leaders to make sure I'm going to introduce some uncertainty? And for some people that may look like golf. For some people that may look like fishing. For me, I do endurance races. So I did a 30-mile run 2 weeks ago, and it was like, that was uncertain, right? I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, right? But it represents uncertainty. But then the other thing I would tell you is, for the people that you are responsible for influencing, yes, we need to provide them with structure and routine, but yes, we also need to provide them with a chance for adventure. So we said we need certainty, we need uncertainty. The third human need is significance. And especially if you're a person of faith, I think that truly this is the point that would probably ring home with you, in that faith gives you the opportunity to conduct or to connect the mundane to the meaningful, right? It gives you the idea and the ability to say, what these things that I do every single day, they matter for something more than just what I'm doing every single day. That's what it means to operate in the realm of significance, to know that what I'm doing is significant. I'll tell you, the group of people that consistently I've never had to explain significance and conducting the mundane or connecting the mundane to the meaningful to, the group of people that I've never had to explain what that looks like to, is moms. It just seems like moms, yeah, you pointed at me, you get it. Are you a mom? That's right, you get it, right? And so it's just like, I've never met a mom, and I would have deep concern if they're like, I just love changing diapers. I just love it, right? I just love cooking dinner every single day. I just love folding laundry, right? From what I hear, it's not always like that, right? But from what I hear, the thing that makes it worth it is you're connecting those mundane activities to, like, one day this child is going to be an adult, and I have this belief that they could be something incredible. And so you have this unique and remarkable ability to conduct and connect the mundane to the meaningful. And as leaders, that's what we get to do for our people. If you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, Dave Ramsey is the guy that I used to work for. And as a leader, he just had this incredible ability to connect the daily activities of that 1,000-person team to something that was really meaningful. And so the mission statement of there was to provide common sense, biblically based education and empowerment that provides hope for everyone in every walk of life. And hope was the centerpiece of that. And so Dave would have these talks at staff meetings on certain days. And he's just this incredible charismatic leader and speaker. He's still one of the strongest leaders I've ever worked for, where he would look at the team of 1,000 people. We would have a 1,000-person staff meeting every Monday. Think about how much payroll that is, right? That's a lot of payroll, right? And that shut down the office and everything. And he would say things like, hey, recognize if you're selling event tickets, you're not selling a ticket to an event, you're selling hope. Recognize that if you're in shipping, you're not shipping books to people, you're shipping hope to people. Recognize that if you're helping someone with their finances, on coaching them on how to get out of debt, you're not just coaching them out of debt, you're coaching them towards hope. And in doing so, he would connect everyone's day-to-day activities that they were about to go do in that massive office to a sense of purpose that was incredibly significant. That's what we get to do as leaders, whether it's in our community or in our office or in our family. We get to connect the mundane to the meaningful. So we said there's certainty, there's uncertainty, there's significance. The fourth one, I think, is uniquely exemplified in this room today. The fourth one is human connection. And I think the need for this is probably as great as it's ever been. I was talking to a friend of mine and just a guy that I deeply respect. He's got a pretty big family out in West Austin, and he's just someone that I really, really look up to. He's just a great guy and kind of a pillar of that community out in West Austin. And I was talking to him at church the other day. We go to the same church, and I just said, "How you doing, man?" And he said, "I'm exhausted." And I said, "Why are you exhausted?" Because he's typically so chipper. And he said, "We had a Halloween party at our house last night." I said, "Okay, Halloween party. How was that?" And he said, "Man, it was great." He said, we literally handed out invites to the neighborhood. And I said, "Okay, great." And he said, "Alex, 200 people showed up." I said, "Oh my gosh." But then he said, "Oh no, that's not it, Alex." He said, "It was 1 a.m. and people weren't leaving." And he said, but I kind of looked at that and I said, man, what a great example of the fact that I think people are trying to get in what they missed for the past 2 years. And that people were so hungry and desiring to be around other people that the minute someone provided an opportunity, they jumped on it. We have a deep-seated need for human connection. We have a deep-seated fundamental human need to be with other people, period. And I will tell you, and I know it, there are people in Kerrville right now that are outrageously lonely. And they're waiting for a leader to step up and say, "Let's grab coffee," or "Why don't you come to the Rotary Club with me?" Or "Let's sit down and have a meal," or "Why don't you come over to dinner with our family?" or "Would you come to church with me?" Because we have a need for human connection, and so often that isn't being met right now. And what I would tell all of you is, number one, we've got to make sure we're meeting that need ourselves, correct? And I think we're doing a great job of that today. We need to break bread together, right? There's something about food that just helps things, right? But once you've got that need met for yourself, one of the core values at our business is strength is for service, right? And the idea that my strength is not for me, your strength is not for you. We get to use that strength in service of others. Right. And so we get to say, man, I'm operating in community right now. I have human connection. So how can I make sure I go bring that to other people now so that they get it as well? So we said certainty, then uncertainty, then significance, then human connection. Number 5 is probably my favorite because it's in the name of our business. It's growth, right? This topic of growth is something that I get so passionate about, and I'm going to try my best not to scream because I get so excited about it. But the topic of growth is just this amazing thing. And it's something, because we started our company Path for Growth a year and a half ago, I've truly thought about this topic of growth every single day without fail for the past year and a half. And I've studied it and I've read about it. I've just done a deep dive on what makes growth happen and what's the difference between healthy growth and toxic growth. And what is the difference between people that grow in isolation versus people that grow in community. And I've done all this research and all this study and tried to apply it to my own life. And one of the things that's crazy that I think I always took for granted up until about 9 months ago is that you are a human being. And therefore, you have this unique capacity and unique ability to do something that very few, like a limited number of species on the planet, can do. You can envision a future 6 months from now that doesn't yet exist and then be about the business of making it happen. You can envision a business that doesn't yet exist and then create it. You can envision a house that doesn't yet exist and then put in the pieces and places and people to make it happen. You can envision a community or a gathering or a meeting or a dinner. You can envision a status for your team or your business that doesn't currently exist today. And you have this idea, you have this ability to project in the future and say, what could be? right? And that's just incredible. That's outrageous. That should give all of us chills, right? Because when you think about it, like I studied this a little bit, and it turns out, according to research, I don't know how they found this out, but they think there is one other species that can do that in a comparable way to what humans can. Do you know what it is? One other species on the planet. They can envision a future like that. You have a guess? Wow. What's your name? Ashley just guessed it. Give it up for Ashley. Okay. Is it Ashley? Is that right? Is that what you said? That's amazing. Yeah, go buy a lottery ticket. So she said dolphins. It's dolphins. Yeah. So apparently research shows, again, there was one guy, I've been teaching this for a couple months now, and there was one guy at a team training we were doing that asked me, how do you know that? I was like, I've never been asked that question before. I have no clue. Like, but there are clinical psychologists that I've heard teach this topic. They said dolphins have this ability to envision a future that doesn't yet exist. And there's a lot that proves that dolphins' brain science is pretty remarkable. But dolphins have that type of brain similar to us. You know what dolphins don't have? They don't have thumbs, and they also don't have hands, right? And therefore they can envision a future, but they can't do anything about it. It's a wonder that Flipper was so happy all the time, right? Like, how does that happen, right? But we have both. We have this outrageous, incredible gift of a brain that we can envision something that doesn't yet exist, and we also have hands. And Earl Nightingale, which that's an old time reference, but he was like the father of motivational teaching and business leadership. And so much of what we get to study and learn about today was based on what that guy did. He said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal or goal. And I love that definition. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal or goal. I love that definition because of the word progressive. There is no destination. And sometimes I think that the greatest threat to growth is the idea that we are already grown. We still have so much that we can do. There's a guy on our team that he just turned, I believe, 63. I think Gerald's 63, and he joined our team. He owns a business. I think he owns like a $19 million business up in Dallas. And he said, Alex, I retired for about 3.5 hours. And then he said, I just can't play that much golf. Right. And he just said, I just want to invest and pour into other people. And I want to keep growing, and I want to keep moving forward. And I'm just not ready to be done yet. And I just think that's so admirable. It doesn't have to look like getting a new job or starting a new business or anything like that. But it looks like this idea that life is a journey that was meant to be lived. And I'm going to get every last drop out of it. Right. I'm going to do every single piece of it. And so that's what the human need of growth is. What are you growing? What are you becoming? Who are you pouring into? And what's so cool is you think about those 5 first needs: certainty, uncertainty, significance, human connection, and growth. And you think about those, and the first time I heard this, I was like, okay, well, those are 5 pretty critical, like strong human needs. Like, if you get those met, what else is there? What else could you do? And this is where this kind of content went over the top for me, because I think the 6th piece is probably the most powerful piece, because it's the piece that makes the other 5 worth it. Because we said 1 was certainty, then was uncertainty, then it was significance, then it was growth. And the 6th piece is contribution. You know, if you're familiar with the 12 steps that was probably most formalized and popularized in Alcoholics Anonymous and then translated into other recovery work, what's pretty fascinating is that your chances of success in sobriety dramatically increase if, once you walk through the steps, you turn around and sponsor another person so that they can do the same. That's crazy. That your chances for sustained success in whatever you are trying to do increase if you devote yourself to helping someone else experience the same results that you experienced. I hear that and I say, man, I have an opportunity, but also a responsibility to pour into the lives of others. I have an opportunity, we have an opportunity and a responsibility to not just become outrageously strong. I think every one of us in here should become incredibly strong intellectually, financially, with regard to our family, with regard to our social life. I think we should become strong spiritually, but then we should turn around with that strength and not just hoard it, not just save it, but rather use that strength in service of others. And I think that's what we get to do. And it's actually something that we need to do. It's one of the 6 fundamental human needs. The final thing that I'll say before we close out is one of the things that I've kind of reflected on with Tim, and his journey has kind of made me outrageously passionate about this. He was the guy from the beginning that I was telling you about. His life is transformed, his business is transformed, his marriage is transformed. And the reason why I can say that is because he says that. And he just lives this life now that he's incredibly grateful, and he's adding value to other people, and he's influencing other people. And he just shows up to things, not because everything is okay, but he shows up with a smile on his face and says, I'm here to serve, I'm here to add value. And I spent some time asking him what happened, like what was the initial tipping point that made all of the transformation and growth occur. And although he didn't use these words, the principle that he gave me, I think, can be distilled down into one sentence. The more you lead, the more you need. And truly, if we are taking on leadership responsibility, then I believe we have a responsibility to make sure we're becoming outrageously strong in these 6 areas. That we have a responsibility and opportunity to focus on introducing structure and rhythm and routine that represents certainty. That we go out and play and have fun and go on a vacation and go fishing and do things that are adventurous and represent uncertainty. That we do the work of connecting the mundane to the meaningful. That we connect deeply with people on a human level and look them in the eye and have real conversations with them. That we make sure that we're constantly growing and always moving forward. And then that we turn around and use it all in service of others. I'm so grateful for your time. I'm really, really grateful to be here today and just so in admiration of what y'all do. So thank you so much.
Alex, thank you, sir. That was pretty awesome. So for a lack of better words, few Rotary announcements and some business. Stephanie Miller, I asked, she has no families in Rotary today, so that's always a good thing. But she did say we can give praise for the one above that's given us the cooler weather and the rain that's come in. And I'll throw a little selfish one in. Please continue to pray for the ones that were involved in the crash last weekend or weekend before last. It was hard for everybody involved and the families. So President-elect Marta, she looks at me so shocked when I call her up. She's going to give us a little speech about the main event.
All right, thanks, President Jeff. So we have reserved the Youth Center for February 5th. That's the date for our coming main event. Super Bowl is the following weekend, so no Super Bowl this year, but the main event. And as you guys all know, that's the biggest fundraiser that we do every year to help support the service projects. I put together, I'm going to try to have a meeting next Wednesday at the Trailhead Beer Garden at 5:30. Anyone is welcome to attend. We've got some tried and true ideas that we'll put in place for this event, but certainly we can always have a conversation about what else might we want to try to do. There's been a recommendation that maybe we do a live auction. And so, okay, let's see if we can get 2 or 3 live auction items that would really do well and would have a lot of energy around them. There's been some talk about let's get some food trucks. And then some people have said, we don't really like food trucks. What else can we do? And I'm not here to dictate that this is how this event's going to be run. I'm here to help us grow and lead our way through what will hopefully be a very successful event. So if you can come out next weekend or next Wednesday, 5:30 at the Trailhead, first round's on me, unless everybody shows up. But really look forward to those of you that have served on this event before. I need your expertise. I need your help. For those of you that have some ideas and you haven't been part of that event before, please come on out and help us build the best one yet. Thank you.
Thank you, President-elect Marta. 246 years ago next Wednesday is the Marine Corps birthday. So we'll pre-flight at the Trailhead with you. So Veterans Breakfast this Friday morning from 8 to 9:30 at the Veterans Center, 411 Meadowview. I just know the address now. I don't have to look at it. Please join us for that. Bring a friend, bring a veteran, bring a anybody that you want to, just come out and celebrate Veterans Day, get to know our local vets and have fun with it because it's always fun. And food, Dave is holding up a can of Spam. Chicken and sausage gumbo. We're also taking food donations for their pantry. Dave has a sack back there that I'm going to take over for it as well. So please come, bring bring canned goods, preferably ones that are not expired. Believe it or not, they had people that were dropping off expired food. And so if we can do that. Paid announcements. But before I get to District Governor Holmes, Dave Rittenhouse, do you want to fill in for
Of course, nobody can do it for me. I tried and drove on the mail, but I was not successful. I guess I better turn off.
So folks online, turn off that one, please. Turn off the mic up there. Thank you. That didn't work. There we go. Okay, thank you. That's still working. Okay, so we want to make sure that you all can sign up for ringing the bell for the Salvation Army. Okay? See, so that's why we're doubling up this message. You can hear it twice. So does everybody know how to get to Club Runner? Who can't get to Club Runner? If you can't, see me, see Sue Wintery, or see somebody else who knows how to get to Club Runner. So once you get to Club Runner, if you cursor down a little bit, over here, where my mouse is running around, you'll see some events like bell ringing fun. Here's more big ring fun. Ringing for good. And last chance to do good. So you go to one of these and you click on it. So let's click on the one that's coming up. Yeah, but then I can't run this thing. Sorry about that. That's because they didn't turn it off back there. No, you have to turn it off at the computer. It's on mute? It's still not working. Okay. Is that better? So you go here. And that's where you do it at.
All right,
That's enough.
Dave, thank you.
I'm going to turn mine off.
Yes, Jimmy. Perfect.
I just want to let you know that we're set up for our Christmas party on December the 8th. We have a venue and we have a payment, and I want to make sure everybody lets me know how much is coming. So call me, text me, email me, whatever.
December the 8th is our Christmas party. Jimmy's got us a really phenomenal venue for it. I don't know how you did it, but it's $4,500 a night for the venue, and he got it for $250. So it's where's it at?
It's out past James Avery, where they're showing.
Sendero Springs. All right. Do you want to come up here, Carol, so everybody can hear you?
Member of Hill Country Corral, and we're having a concert on Saturday at 4:00, and it's Americana, patriotic songs and so forth. And we'd love for you to be here at the Rock Center at 4:00. That's Hill Country Corral.
Thank you, ma'am. Carol Holmes was speaking about, for the ones on Zoom, the Hill Country Corral, and we'll be here at the Croc Center at 4:00 this Saturday. And it's Americana music, and you can come hear her sing. So thank you, ma'am. For the fun part, Gina, are you wearing your Rotary pin? November the 20th, trash collection, meet at Tally Elementary.
You have a problem littering, this will fix it. Appreciate all the help you know went out. I'll sit down and you guys have a good time.
Wonderful. So trash pickup, 7:30 Tally Elementary on the 20th. And Todd's gonna bring donuts and kolaches and ZZ Top. It might be him wearing a beard, but you never know. So if there's no other club business. Oh, yeah, Jeff has that. Come on up.
See, chaos order, chaos order.
It's a lot more fun than regimented boredom, so I think we're having a good time today. And you, Alex, no notes, 21 minutes, 33 seconds. You're incredible. And there's a lot of people in this town that need that injection, big time. Some of them in this room. No, that I don't get impressed by much, but you clearly have it. And I'm glad to see that Dave Ramsey taught you so much. No, just naturally, I think you have it. Good for you. I'd like to be able to join your morning, although I don't command anybody anymore. Philip, Stacy, you have Pablo with you again today. Paul Martinez. Yes, that's Pablo in Spanish. Okay. Yeah. Where's your paperwork? You have it? Great.
Go to Club Runner and sign up without the echo. So, all right, with that, if you would please stand and join me in the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do. They're all concerned. Better friendships. Beneficial to all concerned.